Hello everyone. Hi Pramod.
Hey, Avira.
So we've been talking offline one-to-one for many years, taking advice from Pramod while building the private DigiLocker of sorts, and and we've had one-to-one conversation, and it's great to have this open conversation. So while you've touched upon a lot of areas, I'll probably look at ones that are interested to entrepreneurs, students. So quick question: who builds DPGs, and how does it become a DPG formally? So I could build something, and how?
Yeah,
how
so
to make
there's a
formally?
slight difference between DPG word and DPI. So DPGs are just passive assets. They're open source assets that are lying around. So Sunbird is a DPG for that matter. Or there's a project called MOSIP. The Beacon protocol is a classic example of a DPG. By itself, it doesn't do anything. But when you instantiate it for some purpose and then offer that platform to others, that becomes DPI. So DPI is something that is running, is managed by some entity having open APIs that allows the private ecosystem to innovate. So DPI is when you instantiate it. The good thing about DPG is that because of these are all open source available, other countries can now create their own DPIs faster and cheaper. India had to build everything by scratch, right? Yeah.
Open versus
Like
closed.
the UPI is available now as code. UPI code is available, protocol is available for many countries, by the way. Yeah.
Excellent. So open versus closed. Just a question on Sunbird. Can you give us an outside-in perspective what exactly Sunbird is?
Yeah, yeah. That word keeps coming because we know this is a Sunbird event as well. So at XStep Foundation, we started XStep Foundation in 2015. That's because we had, I was continued to be at that time other chief architect and advisor. Even now, I am an advisor to them. But XStep Foundation started with a mission of bridging the foundational education in the schooling system, right? To provide access to learning opportunities to 200 million children. That was our mission statement. And we have 300 million children, 30 crore children. We are a very young country, right? So we have a large population of school-going children. But our learning outcome in the schooling is not too good. So one of the effort was to work with Ministry of Education to create some, at that time it was not called Diksha, but we were imagining that possibility of creating a national DPI that can be used by every state, every curriculum, every teacher community, in many languages. So by itself had no particular opinion. There was not opinionated. It was allowed, like Kerala could use Diksha to do whatever the Kerala state board, education board wants to do. It was just an infrastructure, education infrastructure, think of that way. It had capability for curating content, managing children content, organizing the content as per curriculum, attaching it to textbooks, doing assessments, doing projects, virtual labs, you can try virtual labs and all that thing there. And that infrastructure was built. But XStep Foundation was a foundation. So we said, why should we do like a system integrator? Why should we do a custom build for Ministry of Education? We don't want to do an SI job. That's not our job, right? We are a small foundation. So we built the intellectual property, the entire Diksha's code behind Diksha. And that is what gone into sunbird.org. So we said we will build everything under MIT license, open source license. We'll put it up on GitHub. And if Education Ministry wants to take it, they can take it. They were happy to take it because it's open source. And so Diksha is one instance of Sunbird. Sunbird is a DPG lying around in GitHub with large community, and Diksha is one such instance. There are other instances. There's a new project, I think Matthew is part of some of that effort as well, by the government of India for all the bureaucrats called Mission Karmayogi, iGod project. That actually allows 20 million IAS officers to all the way till Karmacharis, state government officers to be able to train. So it's another infrastructure for capacity building among the bureaucrats. That's another project. And there are multiple instances of Sunbird like that.
So Sunbird is one of the instances of...
Sunbird is just code.
Awesome.
It's just all lying around in GitHub. That's what it is. Yeah.
Any interesting examples of DPGs from India that is being currently used in any other country?
Oh yeah, MOSIP is a great. Sunbird, by the way, is live in 5 countries. Sunbird, some of the components of Sunbird has gone into 5 countries. MOSIP, there's a project called MOSIP.io, which we began after Aadhaar, because Aadhaar was so successful. Many countries said, I also want my own Aadhaar. But we didn't put out code. Aadhaar team didn't put out any code per se, right? It was our ID project. No use giving it to somebody else. That doesn't make any sense. So there was an open source effort to create something like Aadhaar in the open source world called MOSIP, Modular Open Source ID project was called, MOSIP.io. And if you go to MOSIP.io, you will see 11 countries are actually right now, many are live, 11 countries are actually rolling it out. There are about 20 countries in the pipeline. Yeah, using MOSIP. MOSIP also just launched a credentialing stack, as I said. The MOSIP has a DigiLocker equivalent, Aadhaar equivalent, but all in the open source. So if you are a system integrator company working in Global South or LATAM, or if you have partnership in LATAM or Global South, you could actually take MOSIP and actually implement. They're all looking at it. Yeah,
that's awesome. We'll look forward more, global Indians using locally made.
Code originated here now. It's a global community. So yeah, Beacon is another such effort, right? Yeah.
Awesome. A very important question: why should an entrepreneur build DPG versus products for clients who are willing to pay?
No, they need not build DPGs. Actually, frankly speaking, they should build intellectual property that differentiates or creates a moat. That's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
But remember, from time to time, technology will get commoditized at the bottom. It's like Tetris game. In the Tetris game, at the bottom it keeps collapsing the bottom partial Tetris game. Technology is a constant leveler. So if your moat is only tech, even ChatGPT couldn't hold that tech. Yeah. I mean, literally, few months later, Llama was out, Mistral was out. Remember, all those LLMs were open source. So there's only so much you can hold with tech. So what value is a business transformation? Business value, customer value, much is less to do with software, frankly. Much is to do with the whole package that you offer. The relationship, the package. So you can build SaaS products, for example. If you're building it in education, skilling sector, job sector, HR, finance, Global South is going to be automated in the next 10 years, big time. So far, most of our SI customers, our SI companies, our billing is to Global North, right? A few countries in the Global North. I think that's going to change. And that is okay to change, because with AI, you are able to code faster, cheaper. Yep. So Indian companies can actually spread the wings, because the experience of creating high quality software is not about coding. It's about the whole process, about thinking through design, understanding the customer, conversing with them, capturing it. If you know how to prompt, maybe code will generate, but you don't even know half the time what to prompt, right? That's what the problem is. Like, you're an entrepreneur. Absolutely. Half the time you're cracking what the hell should the product be. After the coding is a little bit effort. So I think we have an opportunity to actually go beyond the Global North or maybe Middle East, the billing countries, to even less billable countries using AI, but because they are hungry for digitization. But they will prefer SaaS-like solution, cloudified solution than Global North, I think, which is even better for us, actually, yeah. So because it's not a time and material game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an IP game at that time. Yeah.
True. Just on privacy and security, a lot of these solutions access data, information. So what are the privacy and security features, or how do we address, how is that addressed in the whole ecosystem?
So privacy and security are actually layered, right? There are many layers. So in DPI, when you build DPI, when I built Aadhaar, for example, privacy had to be thought from day one, because we knew when you create an identity system, obviously surveillance, security of biometrics data, all those are going to be questioned. We bloody well get questioned. We are a democracy. We must question our government. No question. Somebody has to make sure everything is okay. So we knew upfront it's going to be asked to us. So few principles we did, and that's the principles I almost, even for private companies. First, don't collect the data that you don't need. If you don't have money, you don't have to worry about getting stolen, right? That's the easy part. You have nothing to get stolen. So not having data is a safest bet, but you can't do that all the time. Then the next question is once you capture minimalism, then you talk about other things. Never centralize. Centralization as a principle. We have been moving away from that, saying that basically never have a mothership to attack. If Aadhaar had no mothership, UPI has no mothership to attack. UPI will survive. However, we have thousands endpoints, right? Many endpoints all over the place. Basically, you expose your APIs through many layers of federated or decentralized endpoints that you have no attack vector. You are not attacking any, so no centralization. It's a big thing, so that you have no mothership. And the third thing is that Aadhaar, for example, brilliant. If you are a security cyber cryptography guy, if anybody is working on cryptography or say deep in security, you ought to study the cryptography techniques of Aadhaar and UPI. It was at least 10 years ahead of time. At least 10 years ahead of time. We were doing by the way, in Aadhaar is the only database, only in the country, I can tell you, probably in the world. Not even social security numbers in the US, okay, where every column in the database, in the UID mass, is encrypted using a different key. We have millions of keys. And every row in the database is actually digitally signed. That means it's not even, that means even insiders can't tamper with it. Even Aadhaar officers can't search Aadhaar database. Did you know? Because we thought, trust no one architecture. That's what I used to call. Because finally we are going to outsource somebody who's going to outsource somebody who's going to sit in the night, some operator, and access 1 billion people. I can search. Show me all the girls in Trivandrum. Yeah, very good. No, we said, I trust no one. Yeah, we just limited the whole thing. It's just crazy stuff.
That is something, and even insiders can't even.
So we have to layer, because I don't believe in process security. Okay, me partiality working here. I don't believe writing in Word documents that you shall do all the good stuff. No one follows. Have you seen? Well, we have CEOs in the company. How many of us have HR policies and security policies and written in Word documents which nobody follows? Yeah, very common. Nobody does. So you have to convert policy as code. So I am a believer that we have to convert policy, as much policy as code. Wow. That means we, for example, in Diksha, and I remember Matthew and Railu, we have the two architects here, and I don't know whether other people are here, Bachi is here, few of them are there. So these guys actually built that you don't even have to log in to Diksha. Half the work you don't even need to log in, because if you have to log in and keep fixing, that means somebody has a super administrative power. Somebody has an SSH capability to an admin console. That means that guy, and we have had this by the way. In Aadhaar, one guy in 2010, he had to go to Hyderabad because he had to catch his bus because he was going home. He, instead of he did rm minus r on a slash data instead of slash temp. You know what it means? He basically recursively deleted the data folder. Thank God, because I don't trust anyone, I don't trust the system. We had enough. We were on a Hadoop cluster, so it obviously the node. We realized that node got wiped out, and it obviously had to recover itself. But it was recoverable. But this is what human beings do. Human beings are notoriously error prone. So expecting human beings to follow rules or do the same thing again, it's a bad idea. We should leave them to listen to RJ, listen to music, listen to doing something interesting, or think about design, and automate. So policy as code, automation is the only way you can survive cybersecurity, I can tell you.
Policy as code looks like a new industry by itself.
Actually, somebody should build really good architectural SDKs to convert policies as code. I'm telling you, because when it's beyond humans.
Yeah. Interesting idea.
Yeah, it's absolutely interesting idea.
So the next question: how can students? We have a huge, MuLearn community and all that. How do we get students to participate in DPGs? That could be the next army that could build DPGs and DPIs in India. I'm sure.
I think that's a question I want to ask him. That's a question I should be asking other people here. How do we encourage students to participate? So you should align to incentives. I think if we can crack the incentives, nothing else works. Only two things I have seen people working is one, people get inspired. No question about it. There's a reason I think the MuLearn guys, somebody is inspiring them to do what they are doing, right? They're inspiring them to do what they're doing. So you can inspire people, but to sustain, you need to have an incentive alignment. Incentive could be jobs, incentive could be funding, incentive could be funded projects, incentive could be rewards, recognitions. So you need to really crack the incentive structure. If your incentive structures are cracked, I think they will all do, because I think everybody is hungry to do stuff.
Awesome. I think a lot of work for MuLearn as well. They're doing something very similar in these lines, and it's something exciting on the same. They've got the karma points and the top 100 coders, etc.
Oh, that's true.
So,
that's
so
true.
there's a lot of work going on that. It's amazing. So, two questions quickly. Funding opportunities for startups doing DPIs if they are wanting to do. Second is, if I am an organization in the industry and I want to start a DPI program, what do I do? Where do I start?
So look at it. Our India's all DPIs are open APIs. By the way, e-sign is merely a spec, and I think both DigiLocker and e-sign are actually under-leveraged in India. Agree, no? You did DigiLocker, yes. We are barely scratching. You know how much of paperwork we still do for no reason? How much of paper verification we do? Bring original. I applied for visa. Dude, you are in VF. You guys should come to VFS. Yeah, you know how the visa processing. They ask me, get me the statements for last 6 months. You get statement. You say, how do you know the statement is original? You say, go get me a seal from every page. How do you know the seal is original? Man, I would have cooked up the seal. But that's okay. That's fine. As long as a good-looking seal, put it in an envelope, I'm okay with it. Complete fake sense of security, right? Trust. This is like ridiculous. I think it's time. We have a 100x more runway for us to be able to actually digitize and create high trust, low cost environments for us to be able to transact. And if we can interact and transact with high trust and low cost, another 500 million people will do. Attach voice and AI to it. We will have a billion people thriving in the economic activity. And India will be a consumption economy, right? We are not, we are a domestic consumption economy. So opportunities are plenty for startups. And this will not be solved by government. It will not be solved by large incumbent companies. It will be solved only by entrepreneurs. There is no other way we are going to solve it.
Absolutely. So we're also on there working on a few projects on our own as well.
Thank you.
And a lot of like I said, using a lot of work that has been done by DPI and DPH ourselves, getting collaborators. A lot of work is coming from us as well.
Excellent.
So I think for interest of time, maybe about 2 or 3 questions. If anyone has any questions to Pramod, please shoot. Somebody from there. Does he have a mic?
You might need a mic though. Otherwise we'll have to repeat it, I think.
Okay, here in the very exciting possibilities of DPI and DPG, I have an idea. Why not use this concept for electronic voting?
Okay, very good question. Excellent question.
Because
okay,
the existing system is highly vulnerable. So why not? I mean, we need something like that. Simple, low cost, and highly secure, reliable trust.
Yeah, so I agree. So I think this is what, talk about, at Extra we talk about +1 thinking. +1 thinking is about analyzing societal habits, societal beliefs, what you actually believe. You might do something, but what you believe in your head as a society as a whole, right? Societal beliefs and the regulations and other readiness, rules and regulation readiness. My belief technically can be done. I don't think society is ready. We will not trust it. We are not yet ready for. And also we should ask the question, right? What is the guarantee that my anonymity of voting, technically provable, mathematically provable anonymity has to exist, right? Because if you log in with Aadhaar and vote, do they know who you voted for? Then I have a problem. Then fundamentals of democracy will be questioned, right? So you can't. So we have technically possible, but I don't think we are ready. We are still fighting on EVM machines and all. Okay, let's do that. Whether printout is correct or not. So let's. It'll take some time.
You just stand up for the mic if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Anup.
There's a mic. Yeah, okay, mic here. Then meanwhile, go ahead. Yeah.
So out of all the solutions we have discussed so far, I think that we have missed out on a small population, that is, the foreign travelers coming into the country.
Oh yeah.
So my question is, why is it not open to them? I'm asking this because I've seen them wander, like when I scan and make a payment, or when
They wonder and wander.
Yeah.
You're right.
when
Actually, true.
when
Yeah.
I try to make a payment,
Arey,
cut
yes.
the queues.
You know, I can't tell you. Yesterday, somebody. Yeah, literally yesterday, somebody literally haunted me on this question. He said, "Why don't you do? You have UPI everywhere. Why don't you do?" I said, "It's a time for everything. I think it's just the best thing I learned. You know what? Patience."
So
In the last 15 years, because it'll happen suddenly, nothing happens and everything happens, right? So in last year we did open up for G20 countries. By the way, anybody who's coming from G20 countries, in the airport when they come in, they can actually create a wallet instantly by paying. They can pay $20, for example. They would create a UPI app with a wallet, prepaid equivalent wallet. They can't open a bank account. They don't need to open a bank account because they might have tax implications and so on. But they can deposit in the airport the money, and they can use it for UPI all the way, and when they go out, they can take left of the money and go. It's already on. G20 we launched it, but that's not enough. Actually, we should make it easy. I don't know why we should.
Yeah, that is what I thought. I asked this
One of
because
those things, yeah.
three reasons. One is because I've seen them wander like this. We not just in the financial space, but even in the airports. Like
Especially in
I just
Kerala,
cut-
you'll have a lot of tourists here, right?
I just cut
we-
the queues and go, and they are waiting back. So
I know.
I think the guests should be treated better. That is what.
See,
Indians
this is the same question we have. As an architect of UPI, for example, when we wrote UPI, we were already seeing recurring payments, checks, e-mandates, mandate with block, mandate without block, all the things are designed. You know what we launched with? 2,000 rupee limit peer-to-peer transaction, right? You remember? I don't know that you remember. That's how we started. So as an architect, we were all like you. We were disappointed. Really? We wrote all that 2 years of design work to just do 2,000 rupee back and forth peer-to-peer. But that's how the world moves. World moves because people have to worry about cyber fraud, resilience of that. How do you know UPI was safe? RBI doesn't know. You don't want a societal backlash. So everything is carefully unraveled in the system when things are coming through. So I think it's one of those things. It'll just happen.
Okay. So I'm part of a startup trying to build something in the digital
Oh,
space
nice.
for
Yeah, by the way, remittance is huge. You guys should be, UPI, remittance will open up.
In the sense, not in the
Faster.
financial space, I'm trying to build something in the digital space for the travelers in India.
Okay.
Because that is something which is like no
We'll
one is
make it
doing.
happen, don't worry.
Yeah, all right. So
Be patient. I
what
think we
is
have-
the
yeah.
current DPIs we have which we can make use of? Like
Yeah,
what is
today, you'll have to do a workaround. You have to have some pooled account or something like that to actually work around those payments. But
not just payments, I'm just asking what are the DPIs which we can incorporate? So
you have to go closer.
what are the systems that we can use in our systems, that is what is available all open for the people, which we can just incorporate into our system?
Everything I talked about have open APIs. So everything that is being built in the agriculture, in the health, ABDM for example, Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, they're all open APIs. So it's a question of you as an entrepreneur. I didn't fully understand the vertical you are in, but if you are in that vertical, to reimagine the workflows, reimagine the possibilities using these APIs, and then build a value added layer of app or solution for that. None of these are actually solution by itself. GST is one API, UPI is one API, and so on, right? These APIs can be combined though by you. So that's how you want to think about it. I didn't fully understand, but maybe we'll talk off.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
excuse me. I will
Thank
just
you, sir.
move to the next
Last one
question.
maybe, yeah.
Next
Yeah,
question.
so, excuse me, India has done amazing, you guys can hear
Yeah.
me? Yeah. India has done an amazing job in creating identity verification, so on and so forth, at a mass level, right? But as a global nature, people are moving about. So how do you, I mean, what you have done in India, technology is great, but the solving, how do you sell it to the government? How do you sell it to the people at the end of the day to make them understand? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the Indians are moving outside and the recipient. So how do countries like United States?
For
we
other
are-
countries?
For other countries.
Yeah,
we
so
are way behind.
every different countries have different context and different pain points. Global north in general have different pain points. For example, same UPI. US has been working on that for the last 3 years. It's called FedNow. they're trying to launch it beyond Zelle. They had Zelle already to do IMPS equivalent, then now they're trying to do UPI equivalent. But frankly, they have 3 cards per person. So already using card as a habit across the world, across the country. So the Nandan calls this the quadrant where the friction and the value. So if you look at the friction versus value, for the US, friction is high, the value is low, perceived value of UPI. Whereas India, friction was actually low because we were open enough to do it, and the value was enormous, right? It just opened up. So I think it depends on where, in what intervention you're doing. But Beacon, for example, we have 2 projects in the US right now. So it's already in early pilot stages. So in climate sustainability, sustainable agri, climate resilient society, what do you call towns or societies, like Kerala flood. When the flood happened, we realized, right, we are not prepared at all. Typically when disasters happen, they are not coordinated. There's a cost of coordination, and sometimes you end up having too much of food and less clothes. You don't know, and people used to, good Samaritans used to go rescue people from houses. But imagine it can be coordinated on a fabric, and that's what Beacon project is actually about. Beacon is trying to do that for a city in US. For they also have disasters. Everybody has climate disasters. So many such. So Europe has a different. Europe is socialistic in thinking, but they don't trust government also, and they have low energy in general. So, but they are very highly legislative in nature. So they come up with Digital Markets Acts, Interoperability Act, all that stuff, right? So they are very keen to do entrepreneurial driven. That's why we have a lot of projects in Europe. We see Global South is like India. They are hungry and want to do it, but different stages of maturity. Africa is actually not that mature. Like, still procurement corruption and slightly more than what you see here. But one thing I know, success breeds success. Every country needs one. Our success of Aadhaar and UPI, every one of us are part of it. Everywhere we go, we boast about it. We shamelessly talk about COVID certificate when we see US handwriting vaccine. We sort of, we're proud about it. So when the country has success, the next project gets easier in the country. You can now walk into a leadership and say, UPI like, can we do UPI like in commerce? And ONDC was born, right? It's easy to say things like that. Let's do a UPI for commerce. Although it doesn't mean anything, it's easy to say that way. That's what we believe countries should do. Ethiopia or Nairobi, Kenya, when you go Zambia, Rwanda, Uganda, we've talked to many of them, we've worked with many of them. Each of them need their own success, like our ISROs of the world, or we'd be proud of. That's why we have space tech. Suddenly we have a lot of space tech here. It's like we have a lot of cricketers, but we have no footballers or athletes, right? So we need heroes. Heroes breeds next generation. Same as software projects, by the way. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool.
So thanks, Pramod. I think all of us probably have heard.
He really standing up with the mic.
Sorry,
he said, I'm not letting you go.
Last question, thank you.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I know we are really behind. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're standing up. Yeah.
Good to see you here.
Go closer. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good to see you here. I think it feels like somehow this era and this conversation feels a lot like the pre-Apple, pre-Google era, where Larry Page and Sergey Brin wrote the algorithm, and Tim Cook, built Steve Jobs built initial computing devices based on electronics. So it's got that energy and that kind of this thing.
Thank you.
I had a quick question. India has a lot of solution builders and very few infrastructure builders, right?
Yeah, correct.
And I think DPI and building DPI, DPG on the infrastructure side requires a lot of unlearning and thinking, freshly as such.
Yes.
Personally, I want to be on the, architect and, on the side of building infrastructure.
Yeah.
What kind of unlearning is required in order to, kind of get that? So that's the question.
That's an excellent question. Actually, infrastructure learning, infrastructure architecting is different from apps building.
I'm just going to sit down so that everyone can see you. So
pardon?
I'm just going to sit down so that everyone can see you.
Please. Yeah, so it's a great question. What is the characteristics? And I have talked about these characteristics in many of my video recording and talks. One thing is generalization, and the ability to generalize infrastructure, because infrastructure you can lay once has to be used for many purposes. So how do you generalize and abstract create context-free infrastructure, not context-sensitive applications, right? Because UPI, by the way, we were already creating stress tests for UPI in 2014. And what if UPI happens without smartphone? Can it happen over voice? Can it happen through assisted terminals? Why do I need my own smartphone? All the questions we were asking. What if it's a different currency? What if we have CBDC, for example, crypto? Today we launched crypto. Actually, UPI can move crypto. UPI is agnostic to currency. That's why we do Singapore Bridge, right? Pretty easily, Singapore-India Bridge. So abstraction is a key principle architects have to learn. Second is minimalism. Infrastructure is not about adding more and more. When you build the road, you want generalized roads, but you are not the transport builder. You are not the operator of a transport. You are not building the cars. You are not building the cycles. You are not building any of the transport actual, right? So similarly, when you build UPI, you are not building the apps. You are not building workflows. You are not building any of that. So idea is to leave as much to entrepreneurs, so that the minimalism is not natural. When you come from a product industry or a feature industry, more features is better, right? You keep adding more and more buttons, more features. But for me, it was about less and less and less and less. We would ask the question, oh, can I do in such a way that all this can be a layered innovation? Then leave it to the innovation. Because that much less. This also means less cost to maintain, less cost to build. This is why India's 15 years, in the last 15 years, Aadhaar plus eSign plus DigiLocker plus account aggregator, UPI plus UPI, all put together, India has spent less than $2.5 billion in the last 15 years. That's all. It's a what Nandan calls a round of error. You know, it's a rounding error, right? It's so insignificant that our return of investment is just crazy. Look at our UPI and other everywhere, right? Used. So the value of infrastructure is exponential, but the cost is not exponential when it comes to software. Hardware infrastructure, I mean, roads are tough, you know, but soft infrastructure is not expensive. So minimalism helps. Abstraction, minimalism is very, very key. And most importantly, understanding trends. Trend is your friend. You really have to know where the world is going towards. And by the time you go, you're trying to meet that thing. And knowing that trend was very, very key. And I can literally rattle off clear trends that we analyzed. Why UPI, we had perfect timing to launch in 2015 when we wanted to launch, and not 2010 or not 2025. It was really timing. And so you need to know the trends. So trend is very important. So these are three things that you as an architect you would want. But if you want to be a volunteer to some of this, we have a good group of volunteers who are participating in some. Feel free to join. You can part-time volunteer, half-time, full-time volunteer. You know, you can weekend warriors if you want to review some specifications and open source and all that thing. Pia, all these guys are all here. So you know, Beckon guys are all here. So feel free to ask them, participate. It's quite satisfactory. Yeah, it's good fun. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir? Yeah.
Okay, I'm supposed to be off the stage
it's okay,
long while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I take just 10 seconds?
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
I think he says no.
Yeah.
Why don't I catch up later? Maybe coffee time. Okay. Right.
So just a winding up note. I think all of us realize that spending a few more minutes with Pramod has probably given us at least a few billion-dollar ideas for startups, entrepreneurs in the coming years. The next 5 years is going to be very interesting.
Really should do.
And this is going to go a long way in building DPIs and of course for the country, for the billions.
I'm happy to actually come back and mentor and startups.
Yeah. You got it.
Whatever it means. Okay, whatever it takes. We'll all be here.
So you got it. You got it. A few billion-dollar ideas from Pramod, from DPI and DPG.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for
Thank you, Pramod.